It's Emil Guillermo. Emil, Amok to you. Yeah, I'm trying to stream to Instagram. And for some reason, it says you should click on go live and it should go live, but I'm not going live, or at least not that I know of. If I'm live on Instagram, let me know. But if not, I should be on all the regular channels, the YouTube channel, at Emil Amok 1, also on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Emil Amok, and also on Facebook, fb.com/EmilGuillermo.media. Hi, everyone. It's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo, Emil Amok to you. Yeah, you know me. It's your buddy Emil. We're doing this thing live. And this is, usually when we come on early, we call it our lagniappe section, not a lawn nap. We say it the French way, the lagniappe, which is just a little something extra. And what the heck, it's Good Friday, right? Ordinarily, I would be in church. I'm just thinking being mournful or just being contemplative. But somehow I got out I blame it on the pandemic for relieving me of this organized religion sense of spirituality. And now I'm just more spiritual. I say, I'm just going to go spiritual by going online. I mean, that's the way I do it. But I'm telling you, we are in a strange place. I'm going to talk about that today. The idea that we are, I'm going to talk about my show, of course, but not yet. That we just are in a weird spiritual place. I talked about it yesterday, about how only 49% ever go to church services. And now this new report that I'll talk about in a bit talks about how Americans are just going away from organized religion, which I suppose is a good thing. But we'll get into that. It's just strange because it's Easter week, right? And as I said, I had a friend whose name is Jamal, which is like an Islamic name. Do I say Happy Easter? I mean, someone who's an African American named Jamal could be religious, could just be, an African sense of, his identity. But I have to admit, I refrained from saying Happy Easter. I guess we go back to saying Happy Holidays. Is that it? But this is a real, I think it's a turning point in America, especially when we have a situation where the front runner for the Republican Party is accused of all these criminal indictments. That says something about the hypocrisy of America. Anyway, so I want to talk about that, and that was the subject of my column in the ALDEF blog, aaldef.org/blog, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. I talk about the presidential show that took place last night on, I call it the presidential Easter Trifecta, because there are some interesting things going on with Easter this year. I also want to talk about something that hit me right when I picked up my copy of the Wall Street Journal this morning, that it's been a year since Evan Gershkovich was taken by the Russians and held in a Russian prison. I mean, it's really startling. The front page of the Wall Street Journal, most of it white, blank, a kind of protest over what is happening to journalists, or not just, there's things happening to journalists here in this country, but not as extreme as around the world, especially when there are autocratic leaders. And I want to talk about that because I don't think we talk about Evan Gershkovich enough. He's a journalist who is doing his job. His sin, his crime, as the Wall Street Journal points out, was doing journalism, seeking out the truth. And he's put in prison by by the authoritarians, or the authoritarian, only one authoritarian there in Russia. I mean, he has the power to say, you can go, Evan Gershkovich, but he doesn't. And the story that really, I mean, you can say, well, there's some people, I'm sure there's some people say, well, Evan Gershkovich knew what he was getting into, when he, signed up to be a reporter in Russia. But the bigger problem is, as the journal points out, authoritarians threaten journalists around the globe. This is happening everywhere where strongman rule is the, rules the day. And there are some people who want that in America and are beginning to see the trend where if there's that chill around the world, how soon before this, it's sort of the opposite of global warming. It's sort of like a global cooling in freedom of speech, in First Amendment rights, in terms of the freedom to get information on your government, about your government, right? Just the opposite of global warming. It's a kind of global cooling to a deep freeze, to an absolute chill of freedom. And so as we have authoritarians threaten journalists around the globe, we got to consider that on this day, as we just remember 1 year after the imprisonment of Evan Gershkovich of the Wall Street Journal. I'll just read you like in the bottom of the fold, the journal here. Still subscribe, because you got to see what capitalists are thinking. Matthew Dalton and Jack Gillum write the first two graphs. From Vladimir Putin in Russia to the theocrats in Iran, authoritarian leaders are increasingly shattering independent media and locking up reporters, with hundreds of journalists now in jail around the globe. Hundreds. You got to wonder, I mean, authoritarianism is a real thing. And if people who want authoritarianism here in the United States, what are they talking about? Whose freedoms will they be curtailing? Not just people of color. The autocrats go after the truth tellers. Second graph of the journal story. The surge in government crackdowns on the press, which accelerated after Russia invaded Ukraine 2 years ago, has left more than 520 journalists imprisoned worldwide, including those under house arrest. According to the Paris-based advocacy group Reporters Without Borders, the figure is among the highest the group has ever recorded. 520 journalists. Now, we know that if we call this show WDAAT, what does an Asian American think? Because we talk about Asia, but there are journalists in Asia where strongman rule does exist, or semblance of strongman rule. I mean, it's not exactly strongman rule in the Philippines, although they have a history. And we know that journalists have been killed, radio journalists in the Philippines, just for having different views, just for questioning the government. Many other journalists have been forced into exile under threat of imprisonment or worse, while authorities have banned numerous independent news outlets, forcing them to close or operate from abroad. New censorship laws restrict how journalists can cover topics deemed off limits, such as Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And this is if you want to know what's going on, right, you have to be sensitive to this. And so this is kind of like the opposite of global warming. It's global cooling and a deep freeze, a deep chill, and to censor the independent voices of reporters, organizations. I mean, Evan Gershkovich is one guy, and you see what his organization, worth billions of dollars, the Wall Street Journal, Murdoch does not have the might, does not have the power to say, let our reporter go. It's been a year since Gershkovich has been imprisoned and nothing. And what can the United States do? It has been limited in terms of what it has done. And Gershkovich sits there. It's sad. And the story in the Journal talks about what Evan has lost during his year detained. Think about that. A year of stolen stories, stolen joys, stolen memories. A year, actually, as a person of color in this country who is free, sometimes we have our own chains that keep us from being totally free and doing everything that we want. Sometimes, to be honest, right? The door was always open. You didn't go through it. Whose fault is it? But when you are told so much in your life not to go through that door, it's a mentality that cripples many people. So I relate to Evan Gershkovich. I relate to what he's going through. And so when I saw that this morning, I just said, got to mention it because it's in the news throughout the year. And I hardly mentioned it, but it's an important story. And at least on the marker of a year, we have to acknowledge it. And then the Journal is talking about how autocratic, governments, how in places where that is the rule, journalists, hundreds of journalists are being detained, imprisoned. When I was covering for an independent news agency here in San Francisco, I went to China one time and I was detained. I wasn't arrested. I was detained. I had a knife. I had a small knife. This is before 9/11. And I thought I was helping them out by, going through the magnetometers and giving them my knife, being a good citizen. Here's I use this when I, open up cans. I know it's just a tool. I bought it from Sears. The Chinese government took it seriously. And they detained me for like 4 or 5 hours. And I was known as the knife journalist in Hong Kong. This is, like I said, 2001 when I was there covering a story. And it's worse now in Hong Kong. It's worse now that, then we knew what was happening. We knew that the Chinese, the Beijing guys were going to come down and they're going to screw with this idea of one country, two systems that people in Hong Kong had gotten accustomed to. But oh my God, I got a taste. Fortunately, it wasn't like Evan Gershkovich, but it was enough. It was enough of a taste. And it's scary. It's scary because when you talk about authoritarianism, that's what you're talking about. That is what you are talking about. I love my transition squish. So for the All Def blog today, and mind you, I haven't yet talked about my New York City Fringe show, but I am, but I want to talk about my column I wrote for the All Def blog. Democrats' resurrection at the home of the Rockettes, plus the trifecta of Easter, Cesar Chavez Day, and Trans Visibility Day. This is a big deal. It's a trifecta of events on Sunday, March 31st. But we begin by talking about the Democrats, hoping that the buzz from that pre-Good Friday star-studded Radio City Music Hall fundraiser lasts through a good November. Because it was a feel-good time. It was kind of cool. It would certainly be a resurrection for Biden, whose approval numbers are stuck in the 30s. Not the 1930s, but literally. I think last time we saw it was like 38. it needs to be in the 40s. If he wants to win, if he intends to win, it needs to be up there. But maybe the sight of Clinton, Obama, and Biden, 3 Democratic presidents lined up like political rockets kicking in the same direction. How's that for an image? Biden, Clinton, and Obama kicking left, kicking right, they're the rockets. They're our political rockets. Maybe that image will remind voters what we need in a leader right now. I mean, sure, maybe one day we will see, mind you, this is a story that is tilted toward Asian Americans. Maybe we'll see an Asian American as president. I mean, we have one as Asian, in the vice presidency, and we have a number of women who are want to be a vice president. But how about president? An Asian American president, male or female? Maybe one day. I got my money on Rob Bonta. He's got to get the governorship of California first. But for now, every day until November, we'll get a side-by-side comparison on the campaign trail. And it should be clear, we need someone wise. Not white necessarily, just wise. Someone who doesn't understand that the stakes will likely ruin our big nation into a standing bridge. I mean, that's the thing. Someone who doesn't understand the stakes will be reckless. I mentioned a standing bridge, but unfortunately, the tragedy in Baltimore makes it more than just a metaphor. We know that it can happen in real life when the wrong person is at the wheel. Compare and contrast the 3 at Radio City with the current Republican nominee who was speaking in Long Island about the need for law and order. Yes, the man facing 91 criminal counts is talking about law and order. Laughable, right? Trump once said of the late Senator John McCain, he was a war hero because he was captured. I like people who weren't captured. Extra hard Trump see on captured. I like people who weren't captured. To paraphrase the GOP standard bearer, I think all Americans should prefer a president who is wise and definitely unindicted. So I talked about this yesterday. Perfidious Trump. I saw it in the New York Review of Books. Sent me an email. They're talking about perfidiousness. It sounded like it's Trump's first name. If you don't know the term perfidious, don't worry. I didn't either. Had to look it up. I'm sure Trump doesn't know what it means, but I hope it appeals to his ego, and we should let him think that it's sort of like a Greek god's name, Prometheus, perfidious. That's Trump. But if you don't know what perfidious means, that may be America's problem. Because not knowing what perfidious means, our country could very well elect Trump again. The word means deceitful and untrustworthy. It's a $100 SAT word for liar. And the root is perfidy, which is a term to describe the war crime of putting up a white flag indicating surrender and then luring in your opponent only to shoot them dead as they approach. I mean, it's dirty. It's immoral. But don't you know, Americans know perfidiousness. Americans engaged in it in the Philippines when during the war no one likes to talk about, the Philippine-American War, General Frederick Funston, whose name is all over San Francisco, streets, statues, you name it. He disguised American soldiers as prisoners of war. And it was the bait to lure Emilio Aguinaldo, the Philippine leader of the first democracy in Asia. It was the counterpoint to American imperialism the Philippines said, hell no, we're going to have our own democracy. He was the leader of the so-called insurrectionists. And Funston captured Aguinaldo through the use of perfidious means, a lie. I guess in golf terms, it would be sandbagging, right? Trump understands that. But as soon as Funston lured Aguinaldo, captured him, American colonialism was underway. The lesson: sometimes Americans are perfidious. If only we knew the word, we wish we weren't. So I talk about this because I do talk about colonialism in my show. About, I mentioned the Philippine-American War and how Aguinaldo's capture meant my father was born under the American flag. He plays a big part in my life story, of course, on stage. Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, wily Filipino, vegan trans dad. I'm coming to New York to tell my story, and if you see it live, part of the show's profits will benefit ALDEF, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. And if you're in California, Texas, Florida, Philippines, China, wherever, and you can't make it, you can still buy a live stream ticket, watch the show, and then invite me to your town to perform it live some other time. But you can watch a live stream performance from New York. I'll give you the place to go get tickets. One reviewer said the show exposes America's ugly colonization of the Philippines, along with other comical and often profound observations. I did not pay that person any money. Which is to say, there is fun in pain, and there will be a lot of both, and there won't be a test. So, March 31st is Cesar Chavez Day. And once again, I'll give you the link. I'll show you the link. The link to the show is right here. And it's at frigid.nyc, and then put down Emil Amok. So you see that the times, August 5th, Friday, 9:50 p.m. Eastern time in person, or you can watch it from home. Live stream, it doesn't matter where you are. Might be better if you're in New York. But you can watch it on the 5th, on the 8th, on Monday. The performance on the 8th is, what is the 8th? Oh, the website's kind of funky here. Monday the 8th at 8:30 p.m. That's after the eclipse, by the way. Saturday, April 13th. And then again, the 19th. Then Friday, April 19th. And then the goodbye show, April 21st at 5:20 p.m. So just 5 performances. If I were to describe it, I have described my technique or my style as Ferdinand Marcos meets Spalding Gray. But, you know, that will, some people may relate to that, some people may not. But I tell my story, and I hope you'll like it. Anyway, go to frigid.nyc, put down Emil Amok, 2 words, and then check out the, let's see, where am I here? Oh, here it is. And then, as I said, you can see it in person, different times. Like on the 8th, it's at 8:10 p.m. Eastern time, which is 3 hours later than the West Coast, which would be, 5:10 p.m. Pacific time. And then you can also watch it from home. Here's the poster. Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, wily Filipino, vegan, trans dad. Trans dad, Emil? Really? Real? You got to see the show. I'll explain it. Just like Wiley Filipino. Why? Really? You misspelled that, Emil. Well, yeah, I did, but in the same way that that people misspell things. Waze, your app is misspelled. Oh, they misspelled it. That's a way. You misspell things in the digital world. I explained Wiley Filipino too. Could be my father. Anyway, go to frigid.nyc. Check it out. Emil Amok, Los NPR host, Wiley Filipino, vegan trans dad. Yeah. My show. All right. So, I should play the swish here as a transition. The swish. I missed the swish. So anyway, March 31st, Sunday, is Cesar Chavez Day, what would have been his 97th birthday. It's also Easter Sunday, as well as International Trans Visibility Day. I didn't know that till this week. I didn't know it was International Trans Visibility Day. I mean, so it's kind of like the trifecta of holidays. You got Chavez, you got the Jesus Christ is Easter Bunny, but the Easter Bunny is Jesus Christ, depending upon, how you view religion. And then you've got the, International Trans Visibility. We celebrate the coincidence of all three at once. For Cesar Chavez, Asian Americans in California and a handful of states get the day off. They do. They get either Friday, they got today or Monday off, except in New York. New York City, I think they were just trying to push the bill through that would just recognize and memorialize Cesar Chavez Day. Obama actually is the president who said this would be a national day of recognition, and so states had to come through and say, okay, we're going to shut down, give people a day off. I think the post office, and you have to check that. It's kind of optional who works, who doesn't work, but it's a day to honor the labor leader who helped merge labor rights, civil rights, and nonviolent protest. Just don't forget to tip your hat to Filipino-American Larry Itliong, the labor leader, often overlooked when talking about Chavez's greatest achievement, which is the Grape Strike of 1965. Now, Easter normally sends a throng back to church. You know about the Christmas, Easter, Catholics out there. Despite the fact that 49% in America say they don't regularly attend religious services, it's the one day where people admit to their hypocrisies publicly. So, happy Easter. Go easy on the communion wine. But the third face of March 31st is worth pondering too. Trans visibility. Do we see them? I mean, if we do, then trans people are the most vilified and othered amongst us. And by whom in particular? Those who took away a woman's right to abortion, the Christian theocrats. The Christian right has trans people right up there with book banning, diversity, and critical race theory as enemies of our democracy. It makes it dangerous to be a trans person in America. In the same way, it has been dangerous to be Asian or a person of color at different times in this great country. In my show, Emil Amok, I talk about being a trans dad, purposefully my one-word coinage as part of my historical legacy. So please come see the show. Frigid.nyc, put down Emil Amok, 2 words, get your tickets to the sliding scale. If you have trouble, you say, hey, look, I can't afford this meal. Email me, DM me on Instagram. We'll get you to see the show. The first real show is on Friday, April 5th. But on Wednesday morning, April 3rd, on the red steps at 9 a.m. behind the George M. Cohen statue, my Emil Amok show poster will be featured along with the other shows being presented at the New York City Fringe. So check out the poster. You can see it at the Aldef blog. Or, come see me on Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock. I'll be there saying, oh, wow, my poster is up there over Times Square. And then get a ticket, come see the show April 5th, 9:50 p.m., April 8th, 8:10 p.m. on Monday, Saturday, April 13th, 5:20 p.m., Friday, April 19th, 8:10 p.m., Sunday, April 21st, 5:20 p.m. It's at Under St. Mark's Theater in the East Village. It's the New York City Fringe coming your way. Now, one last question. Some may wonder why I, as a career journalist, may have taken to the stage at this point in time. Well, go back to the initial story we were talking about. The Radio City Music Hall event. The person interviewing the three presidents wasn't a journalist. It was a comedian who plays one, Steve Colbert. The MC wasn't a news person. It was Mindy Kaling. News can be a straitjacket. And Emil Amok, I take it off. So check the show, frigid.nyc. There it is. There's Emil Amok, Los NPR host, Wiley Filipino. Yeah, I know it's misspelled. Vegan Transit. Yeah, I know there's kind of like a misspelling there. I explain them. You got to come see the show. And then you'll say, I get it now. Anyway. Oh, show it again. Show it to you again. Emil Amok. Yeah. And we swish it. Oh, see, I have to swish it out. All right. So we talked about the presidential stuff. We talked about Easter, the Trifecta. We talked about Evan Gershkovich. We talked about the Fringe. Oh, let me talk about this thing also about what's going on with our faith. I mean, it's Easter, right? So we got to talk about this. There's been a big change in the share of U.S. adults by stated religious affiliation. It's like a 15.6% increase in unaffiliated. All of us are like saying, hey, we're out of here, which is weird. This is according to Axios, a report in Axios. I mean, it's something because it just shows you that I don't know, either we really don't care and we're good, or we don't care about existing choices and we're yearning for, maybe that's why people yearn for Donald Trump, like he's some kind of cult figure. We want someone to give us direction. But the number of unaffiliated, look, 15.6%. This is a survey of 5,600 U.S. adults from November 16th to December 7th. Changes from childhood religion to current religion by percentage points. Huge, the unaffiliated. Other non-Christian religions, not much change. 0.6. Hispanic Protestants, 0.5. White evangelicals, 0.1. Latter-day Saints, 0. Jewish, oh my God. Look at how that's dropped. -2, -0.2. Black Protestant, -1.1. Hispanic Catholic, -3.4%. Just people saying, no, I'm not into it. More people dropping than people embracing. White Catholic, 6%. White mainline non-evangelical Protestants, 4.4%. I mean, that means we're dropping and then going unaffiliated. More people are unaffiliated than are dropping in certain faiths. Americans increasingly are calling themselves unaffiliated with any religion or rejecting religion altogether. at a time when influential Republicans are leaning into evangelical priorities. That's why it matters. This is a survey by the Public Religion Research Institute, PRRI, Perry. They found 26% of Americans now consider themselves unaffiliated with a religion, 5 points higher than in 2013. And why it matters? It reflects a widening gap between how citizens and lawmakers see religion's role in society. This is a problem, because if we're all unaffiliated and we don't care, we could be manipulated by those who are affiliated and go into government and try to put things through in their vision, from their perspective. And as Axios points out, the GOP, dominated by white evangelicals who have successfully pushed to limit abortion, ban books, restrict LGBTQ rights. And what they're running up against is that there's a real generation gap, as most people, especially younger Americans, are moving away from religions that endorse those kind of policies. So it's like the evangelicals are digging their early grave, which is why it was kind of exciting to see maybe the Democrats resurrect when you've got the 3 presidents at Radio City Music Hall yesterday. Here's something that's kind of startling. A slim majority of Americans, 53%, now say religion is important in their lives. That's down from 72%. We're much more religious. 72% said in 2013 that they were religious. It's down to 53%. So who are the evangelical groups preaching to? A dwindling audience, a dwindling, dare I say, audience that's dying off, that's aging. Let's say I'm Catholic. It says Catholics as a whole continue to lose more members than they gain and are seeing the largest declines in affiliation of any religious group. Yeah, go back again to that. Jews have lost 0.2%. They're hanging steady. Black Protestants only losing 1.1%. Hispanic Catholics, 3.4%. White mainline non-evangelical Protestants losing 4.4%. But white Catholics, white Catholics, Easter, Christmas types, if that. So in 2023, 18% of Americans said they grew up as white Catholics. Does that include Filipinos? But 1/3 said they no longer identify as members of their childhood faith. Well, the pedophile priests helped. 12% of Americans said they grew up as Hispanic Catholics. 1/3 of them also said they no longer identify as such. The percentage of Americans who identify as white evangelical Protestants appears to have stabilized. Oh, those wasps. Steady as can be. And the most religious, Black Protestants and Jewish Americans, highest retention rates. Because, for Jewish Americans, it's a matter of what's happening to our people, right? They see it as it's a mission. They've got to stay together. And Black Protestants, I don't know, maybe the same thing? Because when everything else fails, the church gets you through. I mean, everyone is religious for a different reason. And I think I was Catholic because my parents were Catholic. I was actually, truth be told, I was Catholic because Spain, right? It's colonization. That's why you're Catholic. So I think as people get older, as generations pick up more modern ways of thinking, not that religion isn't a modern way of thinking, but as they go away from the family, they develop their own ideas. I don't know. I think the Catholic Church is also to blame because they've done a lousy job with catechism and things like that, proselytization that doesn't make one say, yeah, I want to be one of those guys. What it says is people are yearning for something. I know that I have not gone to church since the pandemic, but it's not because I am not spiritual. It's not because I don't believe in God or it's just that organized religion is a turnoff as practiced by Catholics today. And there are other forms of spirituality that seems to be more meaningful. We're looking for meaning, right, in our lives. That's why, as I point out in my ALDEF column, just the idea that we're coming to a big weekend. Easter Sunday, Cesar Chavez's birthday, which I'm not trying to hold him up as, some kind of demigod, but just as an example of a person who was spiritual, a person who believed in nonviolence. He believed in workers' rights. He believed in civil rights. And he believed in a kind of selflessness where he fought for the rights of others to his own detriment. Hunger strikes, marches for hundreds of miles. That's someone worth modeling. I mean, if you're not going to follow, I don't want to say you have to become part of the Cesar Chavez cult, but certainly he's an example. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for examples. People who will show us the way. And mind you, this, religion, very different from the political reality. And yet sometimes the two kind of intertwine, which is why the Christian right has used their might to try to proselytize on the political side, all their views on abortion, on book banning, on race, on so forth and so on. But I know 10 years ago, you might have found me at a church between noon and 3 on Good Friday. And you might have found me in a church for midnight mass on Easter Sunday. Or certainly, Sunday during the day. And now I'll pray, I'll be contemplative, but the organized sense of it. And look, I just blame I blame COVID. COVID got me out of church. But isn't it ironic? It got me away from organized religion, away from the church, but I am more spiritual now than I've ever been in my life. That needs a squish. All right, so I guess that's it. I wanted to talk about Harvard because the Harvard story came out yesterday, and I follow higher ed. And I just want to say that the numbers are, Harvard has a admission rate of like 3.9, something like that. It's really much lower than it was in my day when it was like 9%, 10%. Very exclusive. But what they found is that the numbers of people wanting to go to Harvard has dwindled over the last 2 years. It's down by 11% from 2 years ago, down by 5-6% from a year ago. And people are wondering, is it because of all the news about Harvard? And not necessarily the Supreme Court ruling on that lawsuit by the Asian kids, the students for fair admissions. but mostly to do with the fallout on U.S. campuses after the Hamas attacks on October 7th, and the way Harvard dealt with that. So that would mean some Jewish kids, or maybe some Palestinian kids, or Arab kids, or Muslim kids didn't apply. We don't know. I mean, after the Students for Affirmative Action's lawsuit that was upheld by the Supreme Court, or that was, that affirmed by the Supreme Court, took away affirmative action, you would think, well, maybe the Asian numbers would be changed. We don't know. We don't know any of those questions. We're left in speculationville because no one dares say they have exact numbers of what's going on, because they don't want anything discoverable. They don't want to show that they are somehow, not complying with the law. I mean, it really is the perfect situation for those who hated affirmative action and wanted to get rid of it. Because now we don't know. We don't know where we stand. This is colorblind. This is what being colorblind is about. We don't know what the heck's going on. Harvard doesn't know. It just knows that, well, it's harder to get in. The number of applications are down. They know that more women than men wanted or were accepted. And they know geographically about where people are. They also know how many poor people, Pell Grant recipients and first generation, but they know nothing. I mean, they know about class and geography, but not about race. And that's what they needed to know. So it's a victory for the anti-affirmative action folks. This is what they wanted. They wanted people to say, oh, I guess we have no problem. But it was a way of preserving white admissions because of the dwindling population, the growing population of people of color, the dwindling population of whites. This is the way you preserve white supremacy, getting rid of affirmative action. That's what that SCOTUS ruling has done. And here we have it. We have a situation where we have total ignorance. We don't know because we're prevented from really knowing the problem. Victory for the anti-affirmative action types, the anti-diversity types, and really it leaves people who want diversity and inclusion, it leaves advocates like us really at a loss. And we're just trying different things, hoping that the right moves will just end up with diversity accidentally. That's what happens when you ban tried and true affirmative action techniques and you let the Supreme Court, the conservative Supreme Court, uphold them. We don't know where we're going. Swish. And that's really too bad. Okay, that's it for my show. I mean, thank you for joining me. I'll be repeating some of these shows throughout the weekend. Heading for New York, like I said in my column, the ALDEF column, aaldef.org/blog. Wednesday, I'm going to have a poster. My poster is going to be up on Times Square at 9 a.m. So that's going to be kind of exciting. And then I'll be there Tuesday for what they call a snapshot show. If you want to see all the different shows, I give a 2-minute blip of what I do at the Crane I believe that's on 4th Street in San Francisco, next to the New York Comedy Club. The Crane Theater, great theater, right? The KGB bar, right underneath there. So anyway, so the Crane for that on Tuesday. Wednesday, Times Square. I'll be doing my show intermittently as I'm on the road, but I will be, 9:50 p.m. Friday at Under St. Mark's Theater. If you haven't been to Under St. Mark's Theater, it's really neat. It's an underground theater. You go in, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to get something I'm not going to see on. You're not going to see. You're going to get something you're not going to see on Broadway. Namely me. So it'll be exciting. It'll be fun. Emil Amok, Lost NPR host. Let's see. Let's go back. I have to play around with the gizmos here. Where's the gizmo? Oh, I don't see it. Oh well, okay. I don't see it here. But here's the postcard. I guess this will do. Emil Amok. That's actually the Times Square image that's going to be up there. It doesn't have a lot of the other. It's a little less busy. But Friday, April 5th, 9:50 p.m., my first show. Monday, April 8th, 8:10 p.m. Saturday, April 13th, 5:20 p.m. Friday, April 19th at 8:10 p.m. and Sunday, April 21st at 5:20 p.m. Under St. Mark's Theater, 94 St. Mark's Place. Catch it, won't you? Won't you? Will you? And don't forget also, there is a sliding scale. Yeah, a sliding scale. And how does a sliding scale work? Well, the sliding scale works this way. If you can't afford it and want to come play, you can do that. I'll let you do that. And just DM me or something. And actually, you don't even have to DM me. You just go to the sliding scale and say, "Oh, yeah." I mean, it's sort of like paying me through Venmo or something. Not really. You can say, "Oh, I can afford $10. I'll give you $10." No one. I mean, it's not like Harvard. You won't be refused admission because of circumstance. Or I guess that would be like Harvard. You can get a scholarship to go see my show. That could be fun, huh? And so, yeah. And like I said, here, see, if you're watching and you get a QR code, and also if you're not in New York City, I mean, some of you won't be, but if you're in California or if you're anywhere, Hawaii, China, Philippines, Europe, you can just watch the live stream. It's not bad. But I know when you see the live stream, you'll say, we got to call Emil and have him just come to our living rooms and perform that damn show. Just an hour, 59 minutes. It's fun. I guess also, this weekend, there's a bunch of sports stuff. Are you into that? I mean, the baseball season has started, and Shohei Ohtani insists he didn't bet on baseball. I don't see Shohei Ohtani as being Pete Rose. I mean, but I don't want to be taken in by the humble Asian stereotype. Maybe he's a gambler, but he doesn't strike me as that kind of badass Asian who, smoking, drinking, gambling, that kind of thing. His interpreter, though, on the other hand. So anyway, I don't like the Dodgers anyway, but I'd like to see Shohei do well because he looks like us. He's an Asian American. Well, he's an Asian in America, and he's the best in baseball, period. The NCAAs are happening, so that's exciting. And then the college basketball, of course, but the pros are heating up. Although it's just getting tired of the Golden State Warriors, my team. Getting tired of saying I'm with them, I'm against them, I'm with them, but they're frustrating. They're frustrating. Bet on Emil Amok, Lost NPR host. That's where you should. Oh, it's not a matter of putting your money. It's not a matter of money, but it's a matter of just saying, hey, yeah, I'll see your show, Emil. Emil Amok, Lost NPR host. Yeah, there. Take the QR scan. You can also go to amok.com, my website, and I fixed it. I fixed amok.com. I'm happy to say it wasn't easy. Oh, the web. All right. As I'm fond of saying, I'm not really into organized religion, but I am spiritual. There, see, I'm not a cultist. I have the gong. I'm not a cultist, but I do feel spiritual, and I feel that this is the thing that I realize. It's always an inside job. It's always an inside job. Don't let people tell you otherwise. It's never about the things that are outside of you. It's always what's inside. That's why, if a lot of people show up, if no people show up to my show, I'll be good. I'll be good with it. It's how I feel on the inside that matters. And I'm putting out the best show I can. So check it out. Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, Wally Filipino, vegan trans dad. Go check me out in all the different places where I am checkoutable at amok.com if you want to see my website. YouTube at Emil Amok1, youtube.com/@Emil Amok1. Facebook, fb.com/EmilGuillermo.media. Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, X, it's known as, at Emil Amok. And that's it. That's it for our show. And so, a little loving kindness. We end with a little loving kindness. As I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. If you celebrate Happy Easter, if you celebrate only on Easter and Christmas, hey, you too. To you too. If you just want to be spiritual on Sunday, don't forget the Trifecta. International Trans Visibility Day, Cesar Chavez Day, and Easter Sunday. Have a great weekend. See you in New York. Till next time. Emil Guillermo here. Mahal Kita.